Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to TGR, that's Gaming Robo. Now today everyone, what we are doing for you is we're going to be looking at some of the hidden gems of Germany's national football team. And what we're going to be doing is looking through the team as it stands when the game started here at Championship Manager 0102, and then going forward a couple of years so you can see the progress that these guys have made. Just before I do introduce to you the team itself, please listen to this short messages. If you haven't done so already, guys, please make sure that you do subscribe to the channel and make sure you do hit that notification bell. And also, give this video a like. Let's try and hit a ton of likes on this video here today. So guys, this is the German team that I've got for you here today. So we're going to go look into the tactics. And just before I do so, sorry. As you notice, I do have Oliver Kahn within the team, but everyone knows of Oliver Kahn. Everyone does. That's why he's not in starting lineup nor the subs bench, to be fair with you. So starting off with the tactics. Now, goalkeepers. I had a real tough time choosing between two goalkeepers that I have here in the team. I'm pretty sure a lot of you will be well aware of starting goalkeeper, Hans-Jörg. But the other goalkeeper, I just did want to give a quick shout out to. I know he's 29 years old. But playing for Rangers, Stefan Klos, he's only valued at 2.1 million. For someone who's looking for a cheap goalkeeper to buy, who's played in the top German football league, who plays for Rangers, so if you're managing, a championship side or first division side, I should say, or a Premiership side, Stefan Klos might be a good choice to try and prize away from Rangers, so you can build your team from then on. But going through the starting lineup, I've picked Hans-Jörg as one of my hidden gems on Championship Manager 0102 for the German team. Now, Hans-Jörg, he does play for Leverkusen, valued at £4.2 million. Now, you're looking at his stats, you think, okay, he looks pretty good. Nothing compared to Oliver Kahn. That's true, but Oliver Kahn is also way beyond in his 30s. You're looking for someone, if you are in the German side, or if you're looking for a German goalkeeper, Hans-Jörg ticks all the boxes for me. And this is what he looks like after a couple of seasons on Championship Manager 0102. So here's Hans-Jörg after a couple of seasons. As you can see, his goalkeeping stats remain pretty stable. Now, he's 29 years old. Yes, after a couple of seasons, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to have to look for another goalkeeper in a few years' time. That's a few years. You can get an easy 6, 7, 8 years out of him, and he could still be a number one choice goalkeeper. This is one of the reasons why on this game so many people have rated Hans-Jörg so highly. But for me, if you take Oliver Kahn out of the equation, Jens Lehmann out of the equation, Hans-Jörg is one of my main choices for a German goalkeeper. Now, second player I wanted you guys to look at, who's part of my one of my hidden gems, and one person that I actually got quite excited about looking at as well, is Zoltan Sebescen. I'm not going to lie to you, never even heard of the guy up until today, when I was doing research of the German players. Now you look at him and you think, okay, defender, defensive midfielder, plays on the right hand side. He had one German cap, that's about it. He's for Leverkusen as well, so he knows Hans-Jörg, and he's valued at £5.75 million. So he does bring a relatively safe and secure sort of valued figure when it comes to buying this player. But have a quick look what happens to him after a couple of seasons on this game here at CM 0102. Here he is, Zoltan Sebescen. Looking at his stats, he does look pretty good right back. He does look like a pretty good right back. He's now valued at 6.25 million. itself, this could be a hidden gem, which not a lot of people have actually spoken about before. Definitely one person I'd actually potentially look at in the future when playing this game again. Now, the third person I've picked is Alexander Voigt, or Voigt, however you pronounce his surname. I'm pretty sure someone's going to tell me in the comments below how you pronounce it. But this is another one that I've found looking through the German setup. And I mean, as you can see, he plays for Köln. Looking at his stats, at the age of 23, it's pretty good. You know, if you're being fair, especially with the SC Köln team. I mean, looking at his transfer value, he's valued at £3.5 million. You know, he's been at Köln all of his career, which is obviously a short career at this moment in time. But he's a left back, defensive midfielder, left stroke centre. So I mean, he does offer a lot of stability when it comes to, you know, defence or the defensive midfield role. You know, definitely someone that you could potentially buy in and progress in the future. Speaking of the future, let's have a look, see what he looks like after a couple of seasons. Wow, wow, wow! Alexander Voigt. Look at him. Look at him. Left back. Hidden gem left back for a German team. His stamina, his strength, teamwork, work rate, aggression, bravery, influence on the game, his pace. Everything seems to have gone up dramatically. He looks like an amazing player for Köln. Valued at 4.9 million. I mean, there's not really much else to say about this guy, apart from the fact that he seems to be a hidden gem in this game. No one ever really talks about him at all. Definitely someone I'm going to be looking at in the near future. Now going on to the centre-back. I'll pick Christian Wörns because, well, I mean, if I'm being brutally honest, there wasn't a lot of players within the German setup that you could really build up, if I'm being honest. So Christian Wörns, yes, he's 29 years old, so there's not a lot of energy left in this player when it comes to this game. But I mean, even after a couple of years, when he does turn 31, I mean, this is what he looks like at the time. I mean, just before I do show you, he is still valued at £3.8 million. But like I said, let's have a quick look at him after a couple of seasons. Not much can you say about Christian? Yes, his stats have actually gone up in the past couple of seasons, to be fair to him. I mean, yes, he signed for Manchester United. Valued at £4.9 million. They put him on a Bosman ruling, which is quite good, obviously. But I mean, they can still get a good 3 more seasons out of him. I mean, especially if Manchester United got him on a free transfer in the season before. Definitely worthwhile thinking about, to be fair. You get an experienced centre-back, a free, potentially paying him $60,000 a week. Not a bad deal, to be fair with you. Now the other centre-back, who partners Christian Wörns, I have picked Sebastian Kehl. Now I'm really happy with this guy. I managed to find him looking through the German setup. Looking at his stats, that is really workable. If you bring a player in like Sebastian Kehl, it's workable. Bring him into a club that you manage and be able to train him the way that you want him to be trained. He plays for Freiburg. He's valued at £3.9 million. And he's been playing there for a couple of seasons. Now, he's a young sweeper, defensive midfielder centre, but he can easily play as a centre-back role. Now, after a couple of years, when he's 23 years old, have a look to see what he looks like now after 2 seasons. Didn't see this coming. I didn't see this guy going to the Scottish League. Valued at £2.6 million. Signed on a Bosman ruling at the end of the 2nd season. His stats look very good. Very good, in fact. Not a lot really you could say about this guy because, I mean, I'm shocked at the fact that he's playing for Rangers. I mean, there's a lot to say about that, obviously. I mean, if you can get him on a free contract for $19,000 a week, stats like that, most teams he'll be a first starter as a centre-back or even as a defensive midfielder. In some teams' cases, he might be a very good, solid reserve player to take weight off the other centre back. Once again, this might be someone that you might need to think about signing in the future. To be fair with you, I mean, Sebastian Kehl, I've got to say, in my own personal opinion, he could be a little gem in this game. Now into the centre midfielders. Now, admittedly, this guy right here, Vincenzo Italiano, he's not part of the starting lineup I have for the German side, but I purposely wanted to show him to you. Obviously, he is an Italian player. He does have a German background, at least, and he's a defensive midfielder. And you look at his stats; he's 23 years old. You look at it. I mean, apart from strength, which is probably one of the major things that he does need to work on, someone else that you could really work with. You know what I mean? And I mean, like I said, he's not part of my starting lineup, admittedly. But I would like you to see what this guy looks like after a couple of years. When he plays for Verona, he's valued at £3 million. Okay, he's played at Verona for a fair few years now. Let's have a look, see what he looks like after a couple of seasons, shall we? Okay, so after a couple of seasons, 25 years old, still hasn't played for the Italian team, still hasn't played for the German team. The stats looks like they have improved. They do look like they have improved. I mean, he's valued at 3.1 million. He's still a regular first starter for Verona. Long shots definitely worthwhile investing in when it comes to player instructions, as well as techniques. His stamina is fantastic as well, and his passing. This might not be a hidden gem per se. It definitely could be someone that's worth value to certain teams if you're a smaller team, if you're not the top 6 type of team in the Premiership or any other top teams in any other league. This might be someone that you could be looking at and think, I could actually get some use out of this guy. So in a sense, he's not a hidden gem, but in a sense, he could definitely be a good fullback guy to have in your team. Now, the other centre midfielder that I do have here, Björn Dreyer. Now, looking at his stats right here, he seems to be that guy that just, he'll get there. He'll get there regardless. He's that top, if you work in an office, he's that type of person you can give a job, give a couple of nudges to. He'll get the job done in the end. And there won't be any problems with it. I mean, looking at his stats, everything seems to be at an even average. I mean, he plays for Stuttgarter. He's on loan from Freiburg. And he's valued at £2.6 million. I mean, I'm interested to see what this guy looks like after a couple of seasons. Let's have a quick look. Dreyer. His stats look like they have gone up a little bit, actually. I mean, for a guy that actually looked relatively average, he's actually gone up quite a bit, to be fair. I mean, his stamina's gone up tremendously. Work rate looks good. Tackling's good. His strength's got better. So, yes, he's not a world beater. Let's be honest. I mean, you can get him on a contract for £5,500 a week. He's valued at 1.7 million. I mean, he's not a regular starter for Schalke, but it's still worthwhile looking at a guy like Björn Dreyer. I think this is a guy that could be a really good, solid fullback guy. If I have an injury or a suspension, my main centre midfielder or defensive midfielder wants to leave, this is a guy that you can fall back on until you find someone better, or push him forward as a first starter and you bring someone in to be his fullback guy. Well worth thinking about in the near future for this guy, that's for sure. Now my attacking right winger. Everyone knows Gerald Asamoah. He's an absolute brilliant player on this game. Really, really is. Play him in the wrong type of tactic, giving him the wrong type of player instruction. He doesn't turn up for you. So you need to have specific instructions for him to get the very best out of him. Now he's 22 years old, played 3 times for the German team, valued at £5.25 million. This is what he looks like after a couple of seasons. Okay, I don't know what is going on with these German players wanting to play in the Scottish League. Gerald Asamoah, fantastic right winger on the game, has joined Celtic. The season just finished. £7.25 million. He's valued at 4.2, and they got him on a 37.5 week contract. Looking at his stats, I mean, he still looks like a really good player. He's one of those players that seem to be very undervalued. Yet, in the game itself, if you get the right instructions for him, it's such an incredible asset for your team. Definitely worth looking into, especially the fact that Celtic managed to buy him, and on the cheap as well, to be fair with you. Markus, attacking left winger. Once again, this is another player I'm taking a little punt on. You look at his stats, he's just above average, and I mean, he's 24 years old. Another player that's coming from the Kahn team. He's valued at £5 million. He's been there for a couple of years. Certain aspects that made me pick him, I mean, his determination, his agility, his acceleration, his pace, his set pieces, his stamina, and his strength. All gel together with the teamwork and the work rate. I mean, let's have a look at this player. Give it a couple of years. Let's see how good Markus Kruse could potentially turn out to be. Okay, so a little pun in Markus Kruse might be worth a pretty good gamble, to be fair with you. Most of his stats have gone up quite considerably. I mean, at the age of 26, playing for Hertha Berlin, valued at £5.5 million. Hertha Berlin got him on a Bosman ruling at the beginning of this season, and getting him on a contract for £20,000 a week doesn't seem that bad, to be fair with you. Doesn't really at all. Now, looking at his stats, like I said, he looks like a fine attacking left winger. Once again, not going to be a world beater. Definitely someone that you could potentially buy if you're a mid-table team pushing for Europe, or if you're in this game at least a UEFA Cup team trying to push for that Champions League spot. Well worth definitely looking at buying him, that's for sure. Now, Carsten Jancker. He's a person that I really admired going back to when you watched the Champions League final, Manchester United versus Bayern Munich. But I'm not playing him as a striker. I'm using him as an attacking midfielder, as you can see. So I picked Carsten Jancker as the attacking midfielder because you're looking at the other players. Everyone knows who they are already. Now, everyone should know Carsten Jancker anyway. But changing him to an attacking midfielder, as I've seen on the game before, playing against Bayern Munich, he seems to have this edge, this ability to be able to pass it into the strikers and gives them the opportunity to score a goal. Now, I know he's a big guy. He's a tall guy. I mean, you look at his passing rate here. It's 15. 15 for a really tall, lanky guy. I mean, you look at Carsten Jancker, you think Peter Crouch. You think the Huddersfield midfielder, Bellingham. He's that tall. Now, at Bayern Munich, obviously, he's a big team. He's valued at £7.75 million. This is what he looks like after a couple of years when he's reaching the prime of his footballing game. Well, at least Carsten Jancker hasn't joined Rangers or Celtic. That's one good thing. After a couple of seasons, I mean, he does look like he has improved in the game itself. I mean, he's valued at 10 million, so he's definitely dramatically increased his worth on the game. But this is what I'm talking about. You're looking at his stats in Championship Manager as a striker. He's played 26 times for Bayern Munich last season, scoring 7 goals. Season before, he played 11 times and he scored 2 goals. Yet in that first season, he did assist 3 times. In the second season, he didn't get any assists. That's why I look at him as a really good player that could potentially play as an attacking midfielder centre role. He could be that player that could potentially knock the ball forward for the strikers to get a chance of scoring a goal. Once again, this could be, in my own terms, I think this is a gem if you could play him as an attacking midfielder, because I think he would release your strikers in so many quantities of so many quality chances he would be able to create for your team. So in a way, I think it could be a good buy at least as an attacking midfielder. A lone striker. Now, admittedly, I could have gone with Oliver Bierhoff, who's one of my major favourite players of all time, or Kirsten, or Tim, or the other fantastic German strikers that everyone knows. I've looked at this player for a couple of games. I've seen how he turns out. Now, I don't know if it's after a couple of seasons. It might be a few more seasons afterwards. But this guy, Silvio Adzik, somehow turns into a classic striker. I don't know if any of you guys, if you have ever seen him before. Valued at 1.7 million, so it's not a lot of money to actually pun on. I can't pronounce it. Slurton. I'm sorry if I pronounce it wrong. He's been with them for a few years. Obviously, he's been playing in the amateur team, in their second team. Sorry. For 20 years old, he's an unknown. Really, he does look pretty good. Someone that you can work with. Now, fingers crossed, he actually turns out quite well after a couple of years. Let's see what he looks like after 2 seasons, shall we? Okay. There is a chance of saving this here, so let me talk. Silvio Adzik, worth £500,000. You can get him on a Bosman ruling after a couple of seasons. Contract that you can get for him is £1,000 a week. Now, Wattenschied is in the second division. They don't look like a big team, let's be honest. But there is a chance of saving this guy. He definitely could be someone that can be used as a super sub. I mean, his stamina looks good. His strength also looks good. Along with the teamwork and work rate, it's definitely worth looking into, potentially. I mean, he could be a player. I mean, if you're playing in the English league at least, he could be a player that's really vital for you when it comes to playing in the lower to mid team. I mean, apart from that, I mean, it's not really much you can say. I mean, like I said, he is a pun. I took a pun on him at the end of the day. But, I mean, yeah, in my eyes, I mean, for a smaller team, he could be a real gem for you. Could be. Okay, guys, so there you have it. We've gone through who seems to be a few good players, a few good gems in this German team. There's definitely a few that I've taken away, like the Swedish team, to be fair. A few that I could take away and think, okay, that's someone that I could use in a particular team if I want to set myself a challenge. I hope you have enjoyed this video here today, guys. I hope it's been really informative for you all. It's one that's tested me, to be fair, because I mean, I've known quite a lot of the Swedish players. There's a lot of people call them the Super Swedes. But with this German team, there's not a lot that you don't know when it comes to big players. But when you're looking for players that don't really get that much attention, it's quite hard to find the right players. mean, with that team, I take away personally 3 to 4 players that I think, okay, yeah, I'll actually genuinely quite buy them. I would genuinely buy them. But that's what I mean. If you feel that you found someone that could be worthwhile in that team, that's not, your Oliver Kahn or Christian Wood, let's say, Michael Back, etc., etc., please leave a comment below. I'd be really interested in to know who you'd pick in a German team. If you do have stats where you can show from one season to the next or a couple of seasons afterwards, please send it to me. I'd be really interested to see. Apart from that, guys, hope you've enjoyed the video. As I said before, please smash a like on the video. Make sure we do hit over a ton of likes on this video here today. And if you haven't done so already, be sure that you have now, to be fair. If you haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel and make sure that you do hit that notification bell. Apart from that, guys, hope you've enjoyed the video, and I look forward to seeing you in our next video. Next video is going to be looking at the hidden gems, as I like to call this video now, the hidden gems of the English League, the English players. It'll be well worth a watch to see if you can recognise any of these players, or in fact, if you've used them, I'll be interested to know how you managed to get them to their next potential. Anyway, guys, till the next time, this is TGR, that's Gaming Robo saying thank you very much. Goodbye.